I want to say this afternoon is absolutely wonderful. I had a great day. I was talking to this young man up at FedEx. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have been there, so I turned him on to the videos, and I told him, I say, look here. I said, while you're working at this FedEx, what you should keep in mind is learn everything you can to figure out how you can gain your first FedEx franchise. He had told me his age. We talked for a minute. It was a little bit more than that. But it shows me again that wherever that you are, you can share and you can teach as a student teacher yourself. I wanted to dedicate this video to Dr. Matthewson. He was a counselor at one of the schools that I was at in Baltimore City, Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School. The teachers there were very territorial, and it was very hard for me to uh, place my hat or my coat or to place my lunch somewhere where I could eat at or just get some time to myself just to regroup before I had to go to my next class. And Mr. Matthewson was not only just an individual that I had connected with there, but he lives not too far from Morgan State University and was a former banker before he got into the school system, wanted to give back to the young people originally from North Carolina. Actually, we appear to be like related, reminds me of my Uncle Roy, but at the end of the day, uh, I just like to dedicate this information uh, to Dr. Matthewson because he has impacted me and has been there many times in my life as a trained counselor, as a trained therapist, in terms of how he worked with me. So I'm going to go ahead and get to some of the information and keep it live and direct. The book today that I wanted to share relates to the power of love. And I was talking about uh, something that I was talking to the young man about, and that is how many young men get the wrong understanding of how they can, or how they should conduct themselves when they're raised up by their mothers and they don't know how to control their emotions and they get into serious trouble, and how an entire group of people create a dynamic where they would remove the father from the home. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of great mothers, because they are. And then once you reach a certain level, you begin to understand that if you are a man, you have to come through a female just to be on the planet. So we will definitely uplift and keep mothers in a very high perspective in what they represent. But the reason why I brought that up was because generally, when you are a young child, you seek for the very first thing, and that is, how can I say, support and love, and uh, for someone to really be there for you. But I don't think it's really spoken about in terms of what happens when you don't get love and how you reject others because you don't think you deserve love. And you really don't know what love is, because generally for a young man, the first example for a young man and how he should treat a young lady later in his life, like a wife, is the example that his mother sets for him. And if there isn't certain supports there where it doesn't come from the female or feminine aspect, then you can have some serious issues later on down the road. So I wanted to talk about love and how powerful that it is. And so we talk about that love governs all, and you can't do anything unless you have that love as that foundation. And then I'm also finding this out too, even if you start doing it late, and that is, if you didn't receive the love that you feel that you deserved from the beginning of your life, which very few people find this out, And that is, you must learn how to love yourself in order to give love, because it's very hard to give something that you don't really know anything about. So, what we talk about is that everyone is on the constant search for love, and that the negation or the lack of love is fear, and fear is the father to hate. And fear and hate, through all their varying degrees, are the seeds from which all evil grows, not God. Many of you that's looking at these videos that think I'm just talking to be talking and I haven't done my research, but those of you who are really serious, don't allow yourself to be locked in a box. Do your homework, do your research. See, because what I did was I took what was given to me and then I took it to the common denominator, because I wanted to know why certain things were not happening in my life. And I wanted to learn, what could I do to change that, but not only just change my life, but help to change other people's lives so they can find for themselves what I found for myself. Is it any wonder that love will overcome all? For with love there is no fear, and with love there is no hate. With love there is no opposition. True love then is simply recognition of the spiritual unity of all life. Once you have realized completely that you and your neighbor are one, it is no longer possible for you to perform an unseemly act against your neighbor. It would be as if you performed it against yourself. So, how I put that in perspective is, let's say, for example, you feel that you don't deserve love. And the reason why you don't feel that you deserve love is because you never loved yourself enough to really realize that every day that we're on this planet, every day that you wake up, that you should always be in constant thanks and prayer to the Almighty, in terms of the fact that He's allowing you to be all that you can be. It says, the child in his crib desires all things, asks for all things, has complete confidence that all things shall be delivered unto him for the asking. So recently he has come from the unity wherein there never was denial. We call that heaven. Only slowly does the child come to know that there are other things than itself who must be considered. Day by day, the child learns it cannot have this. It must do without that. It must conduct itself this way and that way. If the child perceives that these denials are directed to it with love, it is aware of care, companionship, tenderness, and concern. It rapidly becomes accustomed to consideration and mutual exchange. But if the child is aware of malice or anger with each denial, then rejection and fear take root. Once reality is given fear, hate is born, for people fear that which they think may hurt them, and once hurt, they hurt the hater or the hurter. Thus, fear and hate are reactions to frustrated love. Fear is directed at that which we anticipate will reject our love, and hate is directed at that which has already rejected it. But always our motivations are aimed at finding fulfillment of the urge to unity that wells forever in our subconscious. Hate love. So love is similar, or should I say, hate is similar to love in the sense that it is the working of the exact same force. Hate is the negation of love, just as poverty is the negation of abundance. There's only one force at work in love and hate. In love, it works positively. In hate, it works negatively. And in fear, it doesn't work at all, but chatters unfulfilled and undecided in one spot, not moving tentatively, now moving tentatively forward, now moving tentatively backward. Few will dispute the power of love, but the vast majority of us have great difficulty bringing it into all aspects of our lives. Hundreds of buried pain remembrances or prompters have set up coping mechanisms within our subconscious so that we automatically are directed to greet certain circumstances or things or people with belligerence, aggression, cruelty, fear, being timid, or a thousand different other negations that backfire on us daily. Yet all these prompters can be dissolved by meditation at the center of consciousness by finding the kingdom of heaven, and that is within. At this magic center, where all things are known and understood, absolute love will banish fear and hate. What of these two cripplers? The greatest is fear, for it precedes phantom like out of our darker thoughts, has no substance, and thus is difficult to deal with. It hovers in its distorted shadows in our dreams and on our waking consciousness. Its many demons lurk around each corner of our lives. It paralyzes, it prostrates, immobilizes, bleeds off the stream of dynamic life like a monstrous parasite. It is fear that vanquishes our goals before we even set out for them. It is fear that tarnishes the looking glass of life. It is fear that squeezes our arteries, restricts our circulation, visits depression upon our energies, dulls the brightness of the day, casts a pale of murky foreboding over all events of life. For fear is but the negative use of faith. For fear is but the negative use of faith. The negative use of faith is fear. Fear is faith in negative things and negative circumstances. Fear believes we are surrounded by a hostile universe and hostile beings all bent upon preying upon us and destroying us, all of which is sheer ignorance to the power of love. Love dissolves the prompters. A prompter is considered anything that can make you act out where you are in reaction opposed to reflecting on something that's going to happen and you know how to appropriately respond because you know that good will always win out and that you focus always on the good. How many buried pain remembrances does each of us have? A dozen? 1,000? 10,000? 100,000? Psychiatry has shown us that they form an almost never-ending stream on the time track of subconscious memory, extending from this very day back to the dim perceptions of prenatal experience when egg and sperm were but recently united in the womb. A great deal of good has been done by psychiatric treatment, but the tedious search for and exposure of each of these innumerable sore spots with the end in mind of building a psychologically sound person is nearly impossible and is a gigantic and unwieldy process indeed. It is like a farmer who year after year harvests crops which have been afflicted with a disease. From the great mound of wheat he accumulates, he patiently examines each stalk for evidences of disease, discards those that are affected, and stores those in the barn that are whole. Much more time does he consume with his examination than he does in planting and harvesting his entire crop. And what a pitiful supply of whole wheat he has to show for his labors. How much more sensible for him to take care with his planting, to exercise caution against the disease of his crops by keeping them adequately sprayed and watered and cultivated. He will work far less and harvest far more. Thus it is with the prompters of the subconscious. They must be they must be dealt with altogether at the root of their beings. And all negative thinking and fear and hate must be cast out of the mind by choice at the center of consciousness. We are jealous of our love. We are fearful that we may lose our love objects. And our love objects are very much sustenance in life. They have so much power over our happiness that sometimes our love for them runs negatively and turns to hate for the space of an hour, a day, a week. We become fearful and apprehensive that we may lose the things we love, or they may turn against us, and resentment grows within us, and we strike out in our blindness in reference to ignorance. And so at the end of the day, what do we say? He who loves God and understands that God is love loves all things. His love does not rest on the shifting sands of the world, nor does it wax hot and cold as the winds that blow. But he knows his complete oneness with the Father, whose very essence is love. He seeks not, for he has all. Wherever his eye looks, he sees but a reflection of himself. All things return his love, and his prayers move the very foundations of the world. Absolute love lies within. That's what I was taught. I was taught that if someone is not going to give you what you feel that you should receive from birth and it was denied, and then you treat yourself in a very unkind way and you don't know it, because these are prompters that you have to learn how to love yourself. But how you do that is you connect with God and you say, God, you know what? I know that even if everybody else walk away and I feel like nobody else is there, I know you're there. So I know I'm not alone. And I know that you will love me no matter what. And then I will get my love directly from you. And then I will learn how to love. Love is the supreme law, for through it we throw off the bounds of separateness and perceive the greatest spiritual unity in which we have our being. Through love we attain a rebirth of consciousness, unity with the universal mind, such as Jesus spoke of when he said, I say unto you that unless a man be born again, he shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. What does that mean? What that means is if you look outside yourself and you're distracted from everything outside yourself, for guys, it's sports, it's cars, it's making money, it's running down women, and you never reach backward within yourself, because all those things you chase after, you can't take none of them with you, but you can take what you find within with you. We need not drive for love. Love is in us, complete and absolute. It cries out for expression from the very depths of our being, but we lock it in. We consider it smart and adult to build a fence around love and submit to loneliness and pride and vanity. How dear to us our vain little airs are, and how smug. We hurt only ourselves. He who deprives himself of the expression of love deprives himself of all things. He hurts no one but himself, for love moves through all the universe, expresses itself through every bud and bush, flower and raindrop, and needs no man for its fulfillment. Let me say that again. And needs no man for its fulfillment. A man cannot love a woman adequately unless he knows God. Love makes the world go. It will make you go too if you just let it. Creation springs from love, and that's what I'm working on. Life is creation, and all creation is a labor of love. Nothing springs full body from the vast creativeness of the universal subconscious mind unless there is first a desire to contribute to humanity. The essence of creativeness is the love of life, for such love guides a man to do something better or bigger or more enlightening than has ever been done before. Such love catches a man in the great unity and the great purpose, and he instinctively perceives the direction in which love moves, because one with its effort contributes and creates. Life seeks for knowledge, and creation is the measure of what has been learned. Thus, creation is the purpose of life. Creation is the purpose of life. Creation is the purpose of life. And creation springs from love. Each of us has a talent, sometimes several, given especially to us, for through us God has become something unique in the universe. Love develops our talents, sets us free to do the special work that only we can do. No matter what else we do in life, we are never completely happy unless our talents are developed, unless our destinies are fulfilled, unless we enlarge the vision and knowledge of God for which all humanity strives. By allowing love to work in our lives as a power for good, we become free to develop our special gifts in accord with an expanding and seeking universe. We become free to con- contribute. This contribution, when it is individualized and expressed in such a manner as is unique with each of us, advances all humanity along the road of knowledge and thus moves in accord with the very nature of life itself. The most pitiful spectacle of our time is presented by those people who do not realize that failure and unhappiness are their own fault because of what they focus upon by their thought and prompts. He who cries of outrage and resentment are heard along life's pathways has yet his greatest lesson to learn. It is not fate or luck or an angry God that has dealt him his unsavory condition, it is himself. The perfect seed of success and happiness lies within each of us, and there is a channel in each of us through which it may become perfectly expressed. This channel is as many as there are numbers of people, but in every case it is open only by love, and nothing may close it but the lack of love. Let me say it again. This channel is many as there are numbers of people, but in every case it is open only by love, and nothing may close it but the lack of love. So before I close, I wanted to say this, that one of the things I was thinking about, and I used to wonder about some of the kids I used to deal with in my classroom. I used to try to understand why things were not working. And what I began to find out is that in the schools now, we don't have the services that black children need. I'm just talking about black children because I'm a black man. And so my whole thing is the schools that I have in mind will be under a religious charter, and it will be protected by the First Amendment. And I'm sure that the Supreme Being will show me how to be able to put that school on lock, just like I'm starting out with one school, but it just won't be one school. Uh, and the only one that can block me is God, because God is directing me and guiding me. And what our route with our children will be is give me the children that nobody can handle. That's number one. Give me the children that are throwaways. Give me the children that have been hurt. And what we will give them in response is love. We will give them something that's not on the paper. And what my videos are really all about, some people say, oh, well, people have already said this before, but it's really on my heart, and that is this. There is a national and international war against black babies. That's male and female. If this had been happening to Caucasian peoples or their families, they'd be tearing up the entire United States of America because they ain't having it. So who's ever watching these videos, you can think I'm a bad person. You can think that I'm just talking, just to be talking, whatever, right? But I'm gonna say this here: if God don't allow you to stop me, I won't be stopped, because I'm going through what it is that I'm currently talking about, and certain things are even happening in my life, even as I get ready to get off this video, where I can really see things really turning around, even if it's just a little teensy bit, but it's going down. So for all you people that, how can I say, are not supportive, thank you. Because all you do is motivate me to focus only on the positive, only focus on what's happening right, only focus on the fact that good will win out. And all you want is what I want. And what is that? Peace, love, freedom, understanding. That's all I want. And that's what I'm going to get, because God is great. And I'm talking about what I call the supreme being. Like, I was reading some stuff the other night, like they don't even got a name for him. Like how can you put in a language the name of God? Because this is what I know. If you can, if you know the name of God and you really, really know it, you can bring him forth. And how about this one? You know how they say over where they got in Israel, they say something about when things when certain things will be going on with Israel and this, that, and the other. When that happened, God's going to be here. That's not true. How do I know it? Because God is which is within each and every individual. Because this how I know, even when you do wrong. If not, you wouldn't be alive. All God got to do is shut everything down, like in a second. Stop everybody. Stop everybody. Stop everything. How about this? What happens when you can't breathe? That's everybody. I don't even stop oxygen. All he do is add just another element. That's all it take. It take another element, and what at one time would make your lungs expand, now is poison. Until my next talk.